Today, we are going to talk about how to adjust Karma SME so that it can fit users' physical condition. Since the standing up is an intense dynamic movement, we need to set up the seating dimension as precise as we can. The key dimension includes sit width, sit depth, leg rest height, armrest height, and most importantly, the knee support. The knee support can help the users to balance his body while standing up. Lastly, we need to select a suitable position for the pelvic belt and the chest belt. The first thing we need to select is the sit width. To select the sit width, we must measure the widest part of user's hip and thigh. Mr. Zhang's hip is the widest part of his base, which is 38 centimeters. Generally, we will add 5 more centimeters so that the user can have a more comfortable sitting. Therefore, Mr. Zhang can go ahead and select 43 centimeters for his sit width. If the stability of the pelvic is too weak, we can also add a set of hip supports to help him stabilize his posture. Karma SME has a sit option of 40, 44, and 48 centimeters. Based on what I measured, Mr. Zhang is most suitable of 44 centimeters. Secondly, we need to select the seat depth. The seat depth of Karma SME can be adjusted based on user's need. After loosening up 2 nuts from the seat frame here, the backrest frame can be adjusted to support the seat depth of 44, 47, or 50 centimeters. Before measuring the seat depth, it is important to first ask the user to sit into the chair until his hip touches the backrest. Now we measure the length of the thigh from the back of the hip to the back of the knee, like this. Mr. Zhang's dimension is 51 centimeters. Generally, we want to avoid the friction between the back of the knee and the seat cushion. This friction might cause circulation problem. Therefore, we reduce 3 centimeters from what we measured to get the wheelchair dimension. 3 centimeters is actually about 2 fingers wide, so we can put our finger like this to measure. It's pretty convenient when you don't have a ruler. Now, Ms. Zhang's thigh length is 51 centimeters. Minus the 3 centimeters give us 48 centimeters, which is the wheelchair seat depth we want to choose for Mr. Zhang. Thirdly, we need to determine the leg rest height of the wheelchair. How do we do it? Well, to measure a correct leg rest height, we want to first make sure user's thigh is in parallel to the floor. Now, it looks like we have this parallel between the thigh and the floor. After we have user sit into this position, we measure the entire length of the calf, from the bottom of the foot to the back of the knee. It is 44 centimeters in this case. Now, we set up the distance between the foot plates and the top of the cushion accordingly. Karma SME foot plate system offers a wide variety of adjustment. Here, we have 5 increment adjustment hole. We have another 3 increments on the foot plates. You can use simple tools to set up the leg rest height you want. Now, we set up the armrest height. A good armrest height can help the user to relax on his shoulder, both in the sitting and the standing position. Here, we can see the armrest height is a little bit too low. Therefore, the user naturally leans forward to find the support for his forearm, causing his back to hunch over a little bit. If we adjust the armrest, user will have better upper body support. Now, how do we determine a correct armrest height? Firstly, we ask the user to position his arm comfortably, and then measure the length between the seat frame to the arm. To Mr. Zhang, the armrest height should be 26 centimeters. If you look at the backrest, you can find that Karma SME has 5 increments to adjust the armrest height, from the 20 centimeters to 28 centimeters. Now we can use tools to adjust the armrest height for Mr. Zhang. Finally, we adjust the knee support. The knee support is a unique part of standing wheelchair. It supports user's knee and shin to help him balancing while standing up and sitting down. If we have the knee support nicely set up, the user can stand up safely. But more importantly, he can stand up without too much pressure concentrating on his knee. Karma knee support can be adjusted in 4 directions and positions. It can be adjusted vertically and horizontally. The pad themselves can also be adjusted to certain position and the angle. Now, how to determine the position of the knee pad? Firstly, we need to find out where the kneecap is. We don't want the knee pad to be placed directly on user's kneecap because it will create too much pressure. We hold the kneecap like this. 3 centimeters below the kneecap is the position that we want to place our knee pads. The knee pad is supposed to touch gently on the upper shin, not too hard, nor do we want too much space in between the two. Now, we can use the tools to set up the knee pad so that the user's knee can be comfortably touching the knee pad. The height of this knee support can be set by these nuts and bolts. We can find them at the base of the knee support frame. Use a simple tool to unscrew them and adjust to where you like the pads to be. When adjusting the depth of the knee support, we need to leverage this knob. Now if I want the knee pad to be placed closer to user's knee, I will screw the bolt counterclockwise. And press this base until it touches the knob. On the other hand, if I want the knee pad to be placed further to the user, I will screw the bolts clockwise like this. On the other hand, if I want the knee pad to be placed further to the user, I will screw the bolts clockwise like this. To adjust the position and the angle of the knee pads, we look at the user and we want to make sure that his thigh is aligned with the pad. This will make sure that he receives the smallest pressure from the pads to his knee while standing up. Now, we screw the bolts tight. The last stage of fitting is the position of the chest belt. For a user who has weak trunk control, we need to make sure that the chest belt is nicely secured. Otherwise, he might lean forward while standing up. Now, what is the right chest belt position? We draw a line between 2 nipples like this. We can see the current belt position is obviously too low and cannot support the chest. Since everyone has different height, we use this bolt to adjust the height of the chest belt. Besides those dimensions related to the sit-to-stand action, SME also offer rear wheel position adjustment. Before we adjust the rear wheel, we need to unlock the wheels, because the position of the brake also needs to be adjusted according to the position of the wheel. To adjust the brake, unlock these 2 bolts. Since SME can be manually propelled, we want to find the most suitable rear wheel position for the user based on his seat depth and arm position. Firstly, make sure that the user is sitting nicely on the chair. His hip must touch the backrest and the knee pads has to be at the position you want. Also, please check the chest belt. Secondly, while user is standing up, we strongly suggest that caregiver or a therapist should be standing in front of the user and use both hands to touch the knee pads to make sure that the pressure is not too concentrated on the knee. Meanwhile, observe user's facial reaction. Make sure that he's not getting dizzy or turning pale. Talking with them is usually a better way to facilitate this process. Finally, that the user use the controller while standing up, because he will know the best about his body. When he's feeling uncomfortable, he can stop or slow down the process right away. Stand up as slowly as possible. If the user got a bit tension, we can hold the position for a few seconds to let the tension release. If his legs are misplaced during this process, we can help him to reposition the leg.